Hi guys, to see how I created this look using Simply hair extensions, please keep watching. This look is based on the Pia Mia inspired look. So I've prepped the hair with a product by L'Oreal, it's called Pli. It's basically quite similar to like a salt water spray, so it just gives the hair like a little bit of grit to work with. I've also put a little bit of dry shampoo through the roots. Sometimes gives it a little bit more texture, just to get some height, especially through the top sections. The extensions that I'm using is a Simply hair weft. The style that we're doing today, it's from a middle parting, so I've sectioned that first. I'm also sectioning from just above the crown down to the ear. This is just so I can obviously place the back extensions first and then the front extensions last of all, using these amazing clips. I call them crocodile clips just because they are so snappy. So the sectioning I'm doing at the back is basically like a horseshoe. The extensions that I'm using today I handmade specifically for Vicky's head. So I previously measured each weft. I love this hair simply because it's the same thickness from root to tip. So it's double drawn hair. Vicky loves thick, big, long hair. So I actually sewed 3 wefts together just to create that fullness. I find sometimes I'm always cutting off the ends or sewing a bit more together. The amazing thing with the Simply hair weft, you can create a bespoke set of clip-in extensions for every single client, which is amazing. Depending on the size of the head and also the style, I always leave a little bit of hair out just around the hairline just to cover obviously the weft. A lot of clients that I've worked with, they always kind of, say about buying ombre extensions. Sometimes they're quite hard to find. The most amazing product I've found on the market is by L'Oreal again, and it's Magic Touch Colour Spray. It just tones down the top of the weft. So as you can see on Vicky's hair, that matches to her root. So if I was to pin in a blonde weft, and the wind blows, you're gonna see it. So this will literally just mimic the root. So I'm using a dark blonde. Where each clip sits, I'm gonna take a little rectangular section and just back comb. So the clip has a little kind of bed to sit into. If you weren't to back comb, it would probably just slip out. So then what I'll do is I'll take another section about 1 inch to 2 inches above the first one, and same again, a horseshoe section, so creating the shape of the head. So sometimes with the middle section what I'll do, because it's usually like the longest weft, just so it kind of adds the thickness around the ears, I'll then take out just a little section from the front. So it will literally just sit just by the ear. And then repeat that on the other side. So with this weft, because it's quite heavy, obviously there's three wefts on one. What I want to do is just back comb just a tiny little bit more hair. So if I did a really small section, it would probably pull the natural hair. So I just want to make sure that it's not going to slip and cause any breakage. And it literally just sits in behind the ear, so it gives you all of that thickness and length. So another top tip as to why you place the hair extensions in on a horseshoe is purely because it creates a thickness coming through the front. If it was on a straight line, it would look quite fine and it would probably just stick out from the front. So that's why I always place the extension on an angle. Also, if you were to put the hair up, you don't see it. So with this style that we're creating, the front sections are actually going to be pulled back. So I'm not really going to be, you know, putting too much hair in there. I will be using some hair extensions in the front. As you can see, how thick and lovely this is looking through the back already. So now coming up to the crown, if you're wearing your hair down, I would place the weft just below the crown here, just so you can't see anything, see any weft. With this style, I'm able to go a little bit higher, purely because I'm pulling it back. So the bunches are going to sit on the weft, just so the volume looks even all the way through, rather than it looking really fine here. It's going to look really voluminous with a higher placed weft. Backcombing, you know, it is bad for the hair, so you don't want to really backcomb it from the ends to the root. Be about 2 inches from the head. And as you can see how lovely and thick this hair is going to be. And this is purely from sewing in 3 wefts on one, you know, clip. It just gives it that thickness. So guys, now we're going to come to the top sections. So I'm using just you know, a fine-ish hairband, which is kind of covered in, you know, like a material rather than a fine elastic, just because when you've got quite a lot of hair to pin onto the bunchy, it just gives it more of a base. Sometimes elastics are good for braiding, but this will just create a nice, like I say, little nest and more security to pin in the weft. And where I've placed the ponytail, obviously towards the centre, it's good just to lift it a little bit higher to create that volume. If it's too on the side, it would look quite young. I've used a really amazing product at the front just to get all the little kind of loose hairs nice and slick. That is a pomade, so I really like pomades. This one is by Osmo. And like I said, rather than using like a really dry spray, which is really hard to obviously comb through, it literally just brings in all those naughty baby hairs. And also, my favourite tool is a toothbrush. Some people look at it sometimes and are like, oh, you're not using your toothbrush on my hair, but it's not, it's specifically made for hair. So rather than using a big brush around the front, it's small enough just to create, you know, that finer detail. So it's a really good tool to use around the front. So that's one done. So again, I'm just going to repeat this, obviously this method on the other side. So always keep your hands really flat to the head. The shape is coming along nicely and you can't see any wefts here because they're all curved to the head. So now we're going to go and make the bunchies bigger. So I'm just going to pin out the back of the hair, just so when I'm, you know, wrapping and pinning the top sections, I'm not going to have any hair that's going to get caught. Even if the clips, you know, make a little mark, I'm going to be togging that out anyway. So I'm going to be using like a wrap technique. So it's obviously, you know, a weft of hair, but without the clips on. If I was to wrap like a clipped weft around a ponytail, it would be quite bulky and you'd see the clips. So this literally is just a weft without anything on. So what I'm going to do is pop the hair weft in and secure it with a really fine pin just around the base. So this will go into the hairband, which will create the security. So we're literally wrapping the hair around the base and pinning with a fine pin. So then what we're going to do is we're going to secure the end with one last pin. And there you have it. That is not going to go anywhere. So the last bit we're going to concentrate on is just the hair wrap. So just to kind of cover the top of it, you know, we're going to take a little section of hair like this. And then we're going to wrap around the base. And what I do sometimes is literally just run a little bit of pomade through just to make it nice and neat, so you haven't got any, you know, straggly bits of hair. Okay, so all we're going to do is just wrap around the base. And as I wrap, I brush the hair. And then just secure with a fine pin. When you're pinning into the hair, always direct it back, obviously, and down, so you're pinning into the hairband and into the weft. Put a see-through elastic band over the top of the wrap of hair. This will just secure it and you won't be able to see it at all, it's invisible. And we're just going to create the same on the other side. So whilst I do the finishing touches, Emma's going to come in and finish Vicky's makeup whilst I tong the rest of the hair. Thank you so much for watching how we created this look.